everyone, and welcome back to a new video. Today we're going to be doing a big old wedding Q&A. I feel like this is so overdue because I actually got married 5 months ago, but I really want to sit down and just recap the day and answer any of your questions because I have actually got a lot of brides-to-be who are following me. I feel like since I posted so much wedding content in the lead up to my wedding, I've had a lot of people join me along the way who are also getting married. So if that's you, congratulations, how exciting. But I really want to just share any pieces of advice I have with any future brides-to-be as well, because I know that it can be quite an overwhelming time when you're planning and there's just so much that goes into it. And I just feel like I spent a whole year planning my wedding. I did it myself, I didn't have a planner, and I've gained quite a bit of knowledge and I want to be able to share that with you guys and share any pieces of advice I have. Not that I'm an expert by any means, but I think you can learn a lot from hearing other people's experiences. I know that when I was in the planning mode, I was watching all of the bridal content out there, listening to podcasts, and it was all over my TikTok and Instagram. So I understand what it's like, and I hope this video helps you out. Before we get into the questions, I've got something really special to share with you guys. So our wedding photo album actually arrived. If you watched my vlog a couple of videos back, you will have seen me making it. It's from Milk Books, and I spent so much time choosing all of the photos and making sure it really told the story of our day, and I'm so happy with how it looks. I've had a bit of a sneak peek and it looks amazing, but Braden hasn't properly looked at it yet, so I might call him in and then we can go through the book together. But I'm just so impressed with the quality. It's got a linen cover, which I think just looks so luxe, and on the side it says Ella and Braden's wedding. We wanted to keep the cover pretty minimal, so we've just got our wedding date on there, and then it says the Antoniches at the bottom, but you do have the option to add photos and fully customize it. But since it's a coffee table book, we just thought it'd be nice to keep it simple and have all of the photos on the inside. Braden, are you free for a minute? Do you want to have a look?
Yeah.
All right.
Wow.
We had to go with a classic photo like this for the first one.
The quality looks so good.
I know. I swear it looks even better when it's printed. Do you know what I mean? Like the way that the colors absolutely pop. So the way that I actually did it is kind of by telling the story of the day. So I started off with us getting ready. I love this photo. This deserved a 2-page spread, and then that also deserved 1 page. I swear though, it looks so different when it's printed out. Like I didn't notice the tears in my eyes on the computer, but when it's printed, I can really see every single detail. It's so nice.
It's really good.
And all of the pages feel super thick. Some of the pages have collages like this, and then some of them are just single photos. You can completely customize it. I did a mixture, but I feel like I managed to fit quite a lot of photos into the book. So this is the large premium photo album.
That's a cool one.
I know, I love that one.
It's a nice last photo.
Yeah. And that is our book. How good does it look?
It looks so good. Even the outside. It's been done very well.
All right. Thank you for your input.
Bye.
So if you would like to create your own photo album or book using Milk Books for your wedding or any other occasion, I will leave a link in my description box that will give you 40% off. So thank you so much to Milk Books for sponsoring this part of the video. I'm genuinely so excited that we now have our wedding photos. Okay, first question. How did you keep the planning stage enjoyable and soak up being engaged? I would say that having things to look forward to while you're engaged is like the key to making it fun, because otherwise it feels like you're putting so much work into this date that's kind of far away, and of course you're excited about it, but I think it's important to like romanticize the planning process as well. One thing Braden and I did was monthly date nights in the lead up to the wedding. So every month, once we hit the 24th, we did a date night, and it was a really great way to kind of like celebrate the fact that we're getting closer. It also gave us an opportunity to do something nice together that wasn't just focused around wedding planning, although sometimes we would obviously inevitably end up talking about that. It got us doing fun things in the moment. I also think if budget obviously permits, do the engagement party, do the engagement shoot. You only get this time once, and there are so many things to enjoy in the process to having your wedding. So why not like romanticize the whole period? And I think you can really do those things on a budget as well. You definitely don't have to go all out there with a big engagement photo shoot. You could get a friend or family member to help you take some photos and just try and celebrate each little milestone. Also, I just wanted to say there is absolutely no rush. I think that a lot of brides-to-be can fall into the trap of getting engaged and feeling like they need to plan their wedding straight away, which was me, like guilty because I was really excited. But make sure it's something that you want to do. Make sure you're ready to start planning the wedding. There's no timeline. You can be engaged for as long as you want. I think not rushing and giving yourself enough time to plan is another great way to enjoy it and not get so stressed. Make yourself a big to-do list and just tick things off one thing at a time without like trying to do everything at once. And again, like I was saying before, try and romanticize every little thing and enjoy it. How far in advance did you start planning your wedding? Well, we didn't actually start planning it for a few months after we got engaged because we were in Europe. That's where we got engaged. So we were on our holiday and we made it kind of a rule that when we were away, we didn't want to start planning because we just wanted to be present on our holiday. But as soon as we got back, I started looking into venues, which took so much longer than I expected to find the right venue. So we didn't really do any planning until we had found our venue and booked our date. So to give you an idea, we got engaged in September and we didn't book our wedding venue until the following March, I think. But once we had booked that in, everything was kind of like full steam ahead. And since we knew our date, we knew we needed to get started with booking our vendors. So I would say once you've got your date, get started with booking things in. The earlier the better, the more options you'll have for your vendors. But if you're wanting me to give you like a good benchmark, I think a year is a good amount of time to be able to plan a wedding. Obviously people do it in way less time as well, but I think a year is a good amount. Would love to know more about the timeline of sending invites, save the dates, and booking vendors. I guess it's kind of similar to how I answered the last question. In terms of vendors, we started booking them in as soon as we booked our venue. I think the main ones are like the celebrant, hair and makeup, photographer, videographer, but there were definitely some things that we took a bit more time on choosing. I feel like we didn't find our florist or our DJ straight away. We took our time with that. Make sure you're super confident in your choice and you've done your research before booking a vendor though, because often you can end up booking quite far in advance and you just want to make sure that you're booking someone now that you're still going to love in a year's time and is still going to match your vision. What I'm trying to say is don't rush any decisions. I feel like there's so much pressure on booking all of your vendors straight away, and even though that's the ideal situation, you have time. Like, don't stress too much. I think the priority is just making sure you make the right decision with who you're choosing. As for the save the dates and the invitations, everyone does this so differently. I've had friends who have only sent an invitation. They haven't even sent a save the date. Like, I guess a save the date is the invitation, but we chose to do both. We sent our save the dates very, very early in advance. I think we sent them in July and then we got married in the April. So is that like 10 months in advance? I can't do the maths right now, but the reason we did that is because we got married interstate, so it was a destination wedding. And also a lot of my family from the UK was coming over. So we wanted to give people plenty of notice. And I think there's no harm. Like, it's a save the date. It's nothing too official. It's just great to keep it front of mind for people. And then with our invitations, we also did that a little bit earlier, I think, than you need to. I just checked. We sent our invitations in October. So 6 months before our wedding. We did our invitations a little bit differently, actually. We didn't have a physical invitation. We did that for our save the dates, but for the invitations, we sent out an email, and that email had all of the information that they needed, including our wedding website and like a little photo attachment, which I guess was like our digital invitation. I actually found having an email super helpful because that way, if anything changed, we could update our guests, which was super important, especially since we were doing a destination wedding. And things did actually end up changing. We ended up changing our ceremony time, so we were able to send out an email to our guests letting them know that. And you can obviously just update your wedding website, which is important to do as well. But I thought it was good to have an email just in case people didn't check the website. So that's what we did. Also saved a little bit of money on the invitations. I really do recommend creating a wedding website though. I loved it. We created ours through Zola. I just really liked their format. It was free, but there's lots of different platforms out there as well. Loved your wedding. What was your timeline? Did you run out of time? Were there any lulls? Oh my gosh, I feel like I could talk about the timelines for hours because this is one of the biggest things that you need to organize when it comes to your wedding, because you're not only just organizing you and your fiance's timeline, you also need to organize your vendors and your family members. I found that the month before our wedding, we had so many questions from our family and friends about their whereabouts, and because they were involved in the day, right? They wanted to know exactly what was happening. And if you don't have a planner, it can feel like a lot to coordinate everyone. So I ended up creating individual schedules. I've got one for the groom and groomsmen, for the bride and bridesmaids. I had like an afternoon evening schedule because that was kind of the same for everyone, but the morning was different because the girls and boys got ready separately. I had a family schedule for the ladies because mine and Braden's mum were getting ready elsewhere with his auntie and my grandma, so they needed to have their own schedule. The men in our family needed to have their own schedule as well because they were arriving at the venue earlier than the guests, and I just wanted to make sure nobody got confused about the time that they needed to be there. I know that might not apply for everyone, like maybe it's super straightforward for some people, but for me, I found it kind of overwhelming having to think about everybody else's whereabouts, as well as your vendors as well, making sure everyone's on the same page. So I ended up creating a schedule, and I actually do sell it on my Etsy store. Little plug if you guys want to purchase it. It's just $10, and it's my full spreadsheet that I actually use on the day. Like, I wasn't planning on selling this. I just ended up doing a TikTok showing what I did, and then so many people were asking for it, so I've popped it on there. But it's got my real schedules on there, as well as a blank schedule for if anyone wants to fill in their own information. There's also so much other information in the template as well. I'll link it down below if you guys want to have a look. But I've got lots of photos of how I wanted everything to be set up so that our coordinator could like refer to it exactly and she didn't have to ask me any questions. Basically, I just wanted to transfer my brain to a piece of paper so everyone could look at it instead of asking me questions, because that was the last thing that I wanted to do on the wedding day. I feel like it's gonna be really confusing if I go through and tell you like the exact timeline of our day, and it's gonna be different for everyone. But I will say, one thing that I found kind of hard to figure out was how much time I should allow for hair and makeup. And I have a few friends who are getting married who have asked the same thing. And that can be kind of difficult to work out. I think the best thing to do is to talk to your vendors and send them your schedule and see if that works for them. They can obviously let you know if it's not enough time, but if you're on the fence, I would allow more time than less, because there's nothing worse than being rushed. I ended up allowing an hour for hair and makeup, which was actually perfect. It all worked out really well. But again, just speak to your vendors and allow more time. In terms of if we ran out of time, I feel like we kind of did a little bit in the morning when we were getting ready. So once the photographer arrived, it honestly was like crazy. And I feel like so many people who get married can probably relate to that. But once there's just those additional people in the bridal suite, it just becomes madness. And it feels like everyone's asking for different things from you. The photographer's asking to take photos, the videographer wants you, the hair and makeup artists want to do touch-ups, and it's just like you're here, there, everywhere. So the photographer arrived at the bridal suite at 1 p.m. and the ceremony was at 3. So that's 2 hours, but somehow time just slipped away, and then all of a sudden it was time to walk down the aisle, and I was like, oh my gosh, like I need to touch up my lips. And yeah, I remember feeling a little bit frazzled at that point. Like, it was fine, but there were a couple of things that I didn't get to do. For example, Braden actually wrote me a letter to read on the morning of the wedding, but I didn't manage to do that. I ran out of time because everything was so crazy. So yeah, that was one little thing. I still haven't read it. I'm saving it for, I don't know, an occasion or something. I don't know when the right time would be to read it, but yeah, it's in our little memories box, so I'll read it at some point. But that was the only real thing that I missed out on in the morning. In terms of cocktail hour, there were no lulls. Everyone was occupied. There was lots going on. I think one thing I hadn't really accounted for or like factored in was how long it would take me to get changed into my second and third dress. I did end up having 3 dresses, which I know is excessive. You don't need to have 3 dresses, but also if you want to, why not? I just didn't really think that it would take me that long to get out of my dress for some reason. I don't know why, but yeah, it definitely took a lot longer. So we ended up doing our entrances to the reception a little bit later than we had planned because that took longer. But you know what? It's fine. At the end of the day, nobody else knows if anything goes wrong, and it's your day. Everyone was happy. Everyone was eating food, having their entrees, and was being occupied by the MC. So it was fine. The other thing that we ran out of time for, which I know is not a big deal at all, but if you're a content creator and you enjoy creating videos, then it might be something to keep in mind. But we forgot to finish a lot of the TikToks that we had filmed, which is kind of not surprising because, like I was saying before, once the photographer and videographer got there, it was all craziness, and there was just like so much going on and so much excitement as well that we forgot to end them off. But if that is something that you want and you care about, that's just something to keep in mind and to kind of maybe schedule in as well, because time does get away from you. Did you do your speeches during meals or before or after? So we ended up doing our speeches after mains, which I found worked really well. We were actually going to split up our speeches and do a few before mains and then a few after, but I can't remember where I heard this. I think it was in a podcast, but they were saying that it's actually way more convenient for the videographer if you can do all of your speeches in one go, because the videographer actually has to set up multiple cameras. I think that's generally what all of them do. And for them to be able to do that, that obviously does take time and they have to set it all up. So for them to do that and then have to pack down and then set it back up again for the next round of speeches is a bit of work. So it kind of seems easier to just do it all at once. I know that that's just for videography reasons, but it is something to consider. So to backtrack, what we kind of did was we had our entrees, we then snuck away to get our sunset photos and then re-entered, and I wore my second dress. We did a champagne tower and then we went into mains and then speeches. There are so many different ways of doing it though, like there's not a wrong or right way. How have you handled post-wedding? I'm a former bride really struggling. Oh, I'm so sorry to hear. I totally like understand, to be honest, because I feel like you go from such a dopamine high and you're riding off this adrenaline and excitement for so long and you've been looking forward to this day, and then once it's over, it's like, okay, what now? And I feel like not enough people talk about that. And so if you think about it, it is so normal that you feel that way. And I've definitely been feeling a little bit strange myself. I think for a while, the post-wedding like blues, I guess, didn't hit me because we were so busy. We had the honeymoon and we moved house. But then now, as things have started to like settle down and become a bit quieter, it started to kind of hit me a bit more. And I'm like, okay, what's next? Like it was just such a big thing that we were working towards and we were so excited about. And then yeah, it's done all of a sudden. But I think the one thing you can do is just shift your mindset and just know that how beautiful is it that you now have all of these memories from the day. Like you didn't have that before and now you do, and you can look back at that forever. And there's always so many things to be excited about. But for me personally, I feel like feeling like that has actually made me reflect and think about how I can enjoy the present moment, and the fact that I don't always have to have something big going on, because I feel like I'm very guilty of always feeling like I need to have plans and I just always want to think about the next step. But sometimes you don't need to. You can just enjoy where you're at, because your past self would have dreamt to be where you are now. Does that make sense? At the end of the day, I think it's all about enjoying the period of life that you're in. And it's so sad that like that bridal era is over and you've had your wedding. But again, it's just so nice that you now have all of the memories and that you're married. Like that's so exciting. You're on to the next stage of life. And yeah, I mean, I don't know if you found wedding planning stressful, but I did, and it's kind of nice to know that I don't have to plan a wedding anymore. If you had your time again, what would you save more money on? That's a really tough one, honestly. And I've just sat here for a good couple of minutes thinking about how to answer that question. But for me, I think the only thing I would say, and this is just genuinely because it was our personal experience because it rained on the wedding day, but just think about the entertainment that you have during cocktail hour, and if it's going to be a missed moment or if it's going to add to the atmosphere. We had a beautiful harpist, she was amazing, but because it rained, I feel like it was a bit of a missed moment, and we didn't even get to see her ourselves because as soon as the ceremony was done, we went off and took photos. So we weren't even there for cocktail hour, so we didn't get to enjoy the harpist. And I just feel like that's one thing that I haven't heard people really talk about from our wedding. They haven't really said much about it because I think that it was just kind of missed and people were so caught up in having food and drinks and staying out of the rain. I don't know if that's the answer that you were after. I feel like that's a really tricky question because honestly, I am so happy with everything that we spent our money on. I feel like it was all really worthwhile. One thing I have heard other brides say though is to save money on your shoes because you don't really see them that much depending on your dress. So if you have a slit in your dress and your shoes are going to be a moment, then go for it. But for me, for example, for my ceremony dress, it was long, it didn't have a slit, you didn't even really see my shoes, and it was raining, so my shoes ended up getting quite muddy. So just something to keep in mind. Maybe even bring a backup pair of shoes if you can, for in case it does get muddy and rains like what happened on our day. But I think the most important thing is picking shoes that you're going to be comfortable in, especially if they're not going to be seen. Where did you get your bridesmaid dresses from? We got them from Billy J, and I took so long to choose a bridesmaid's dress. Like, honestly, I think we chose the bridesmaid's dresses about 3 months before the wedding. I'm not even kidding. It took me that long. And I was so torn on the color as well. I didn't know whether I wanted to go blue or lemon, because blue's my favorite color, like sky blue. But I'd seen so many beautiful lemon dresses, and I just thought it matched our venue so well with all of the golden tones, and the girls also all loved the lemon, and I wanted them to feel really good. So that's the choice that we ended up going with, and I'm so happy we did. What helped me decide was going, do I want more of a cool tone color scheme or a warm tone color scheme? And I decided I wanted more of a warm tone, which is why I went with the yellow. I don't know if anyone else was as indecisive as I was with that, but that meant that we didn't even like decide on our stationery and our florals until kind of last minute. I had booked in my florals and we had got a plan, but there was like room to be able to change the color scheme slightly if I went with a different dress color. But I'm really happy with the dresses from Billy J. But I will say, and I shared this in a story time on my TikTok the other day, one of the girls' dresses actually broke. So Jessie's dress broke at the top. So 5 minutes before walking down the aisle, the button at the top of Jessie's dress broke, and so it like flung open, and we were like, what are we gonna do? We've literally got to walk down the aisle in a few minutes. But luckily, I actually had a backup dress. Long story short, the reason I had a backup was because I ended up getting another size for one of the bridesmaids, and I was like, instead of returning it, maybe I'll just keep the other dress as a backup. I don't know why. I had a sixth sense and I decided to keep it. But thank goodness, because that meant that Jessie had a dress to change into that wasn't broken. However, that dress actually had a big stain down it. I don't know how, but it did. And so Jessie ended up just covering a stain with her bouquet as she walked down the aisle, and our coordinator stitched up the other dress and she got changed back into it after the ceremony. So moral of the story, have a sewing kit or a backup dress, but sewing kit I think is probably like the more realistic option. How did you decide the order of hair and makeup with your bridesmaids? I actually don't know how I decided. I definitely would have given it some thought. I actually think what happened in the end was that we just like chose whoever was closest to the makeup artist to go first, but I did have for Jessie and Jess to go in hair and makeup first, and then for them to alternate afterwards, because I thought that then my sister and my sister-in-law could come with my mum and my mother-in-law a little bit later. So that's what I had planned, but in the end, we all arrived at the same time. So it was kind of just a matter of who wants to go in first. I think the most important thing though is the order that you put yourself in. And most of the hair and makeup artists, I'm pretty sure, recommend for you to go second last. I ended up going third, I believe. I definitely think that it's better for the bride to get ready a little bit earlier so they're not rushing last minute. And you can always have touch-ups at the end. I mean, I'm not a makeup or hair artist, so obviously talk to them, but I would rather have extra time and be ready early. Is the Cricut worth it? I would say if you are a DIY bride, absolutely, you can do so much with it, but it just depends on how much time you have, because it still does take time to do DIYs, but you would save money overall if you wanted to do everything yourself. I guess just know exactly what you're using it for. Something that you thought the venue included but didn't. I already know what this is. So I thought that our venue was going to pack up all of our stuff at the end of the night, because they did ask for me to send a list of everything we're bringing on the day. So I think there had been a miscommunication, and I interpreted that as them needing the list because they were going to pack everything back up. Turns out that wasn't the case. And then when I was leaving at the end of the night, I went up to the bridal suite and saw stuff still everywhere, and I was like, oh, like I thought that like you guys were packing it up. And then they were like, oh no, like that's for you guys to do. But me and Braden's getaway car was there and it wasn't able to wait. So the bridal party ended up packing up everything for us, which was fine. Like they were more than happy to do that, but they didn't really have any notice because we didn't know. Like we just thought that that's what they did. But yeah, just something to keep in mind. Are you going to post your wedding video to YouTube? Yes. So the reason I haven't posted it on here yet is because I was actually hoping to post a longer form wedding video on YouTube with our vows and just a bit more to it, but I haven't actually got all of our footage just yet. So I think for the time being, I'll post the wedding video that I have already posted on Instagram and TikTok. And I'm so sorry that it hasn't come to YouTube first, but the reason was because I thought I was gonna post something different. But since I don't have that footage yet, I think I'm just gonna upload the other video anyway. And I am obsessed with it. Like, they did such a good job of documenting it, and we've had a lot of really nice compliments on our wedding video. I've had a lot of questions about the photographer and videographer that we used. So the videographer we had was Lyndon from Avenue, and the photographer was Andy from Avenue. Absolute dream team, and like, I couldn't have been happier. Did you do a first look, or did you see each other for the first time walking down the aisle? We didn't do a first look. This was something that we both decided on quite early on. I think we had both always just kind of dreamed of that moment of just seeing each other for the first time down the aisle, and it was totally worth it. I'm so glad that we did it that way. How many guests did you have? We had 90 guests, I think 91 to be exact. Did you have a storyboard for your wedding video? It literally turned out so good that it feels out of a movie. Well, thank you so much. Again, I'm so obsessed with it, but we didn't really have a storyboard as such, but I've got a pretty good relationship with the owner from Avenue, and his name's Andy, and I spoke to him on the phone about everything that I wanted in terms of a wedding video, and sent a couple of reference videos as well. I think that was probably the most helpful thing, just sending reference videos of the type of vibe you were after, and just be as specific as you can. One thing that I really wanted was that kind of nostalgic film look. So they definitely made a big effort to use a lot of handy cam footage. And so just make sure your priorities are emphasized to them. And if you've got a good videographer, they should keep that in mind. And also keep in mind that there's different styles of videography. So you could have more of a cinematic video or a documentary style. We originally were going to do a documentary style because I thought that it might have been nice to have kind of like a kind of a vloggy wedding day in chronological order from start to finish. But then as time went on, I was like, no, I think it would be really nice to have one amazing cinematic video of our wedding day, because we only get that once, and I really just wanted a beautiful wedding video that made us feel like we were in a movie. So I ended up changing my mind, and we got a cinematic video, and I'm so happy we did that because I'm obsessed. Also, a lot of the time your videographer will send you an edit of the speeches and your vows and things like that. So to me, that's the most important thing to have as long form versus the other moments of the day. So I was kind of happy to get that footage and then have a cinematic video that like shows all the highlights of the day. How did you manage to stay present on the day? I think the biggest thing is just to constantly keep reminding yourself that this is your wedding day. Like, Brayden and I kept making a conscious effort to say that to each other and just remind each other that this is our wedding day. And I remember when we were having dinner, we actually did a sweetheart table. So we sat separately to everyone, and we spent some time looking around the room and being like, oh my gosh, this person's interacting with this person, and really trying to like see who was talking to who and just soaking it all in. And I think when you're like talking about what you can see in front of you, it really helps kind of you absorb everything and take it in a bit more. Did you go over budget? Yes, absolutely. I don't know if I really want to share exactly how much we spent on the wedding, just because I feel like it is such a personal thing and I wouldn't want anyone to compare. But we did have a budget that we tried to stick to, and we definitely went over. As time goes on, I feel like you become more and more lenient. You're like, oh, like I can spend a bit more on this and this. But we did do our best. We did our best. That's all I can say. My camera just died, so I don't know how much battery I'm gonna have left, but I feel so bad because there's still so many questions that I want to answer. Let's do a few more, and when it starts flashing, I'm gonna have to wrap this up. I've had some questions about the florals, about the details of what flowers they actually were. One big thing to bear in mind is that flowers are gonna like differ so much depending on the time of year that you get married, and even literally it can depend on the weather that week. So for me, I really wanted to have a specific type of flowers, and then on the morning of the wedding she told me that they couldn't actually source them just because of the weather that they've been having, because it was raining a lot when it was around the time of our wedding. It actually wasn't a big deal at all though. The flowers that she chose were perfect. but just something to keep in mind. Just have a think about the season. I actually found the florals probably one of the hardest things to wrap my head around because I'm not very good with flowers. I don't know that much about them. So I kind of just put a lot of trust in our florist, found some inspo photos, and then got some guidance from her. Make sure you have a list of all of the things that you need florals for as well. There were a few things that I forgot about at first, like the boutonnieres, for example. Not that they have to even wear them, but I wanted to be a bit traditional and get the boys to wear boutonnieres, and so yeah, forgot about that, but that's just something to factor in, as well as the florals for everything else. But one thing to remember is that you can actually repurpose your florals for different things. I've seen some people use even the bridesmaids bouquets for the table flowers, but we actually had 2 pillars in the ceremony that then got moved behind our sweetheart table for the reception, and yeah, definitely make sure to repurpose. But I kind of just gave her a mood board of the vibe that I was thinking and a list of everything that I would need her to quote me for, and she came back with a full description. She's like, okay, so I think the theme is French Vogue, the color palette is white, lemon, and soft greens. Then she gave me a quote for everything individually. So for my bouquet, it was made up of roses, dahlias, cosmos, tulips, and spray roses, but the cosmos was the thing that she couldn't get actually, so she did some different like lemon flowers instead. And for the big pillars that we had mainly a lot of green foliage with bits of like white and lemon flowers. The more foliage you have, the cheaper it's going to be, because the flowers are the things that are going to be expensive. So if you're wanting to save a little bit of money on flowers, definitely go bigger on the greenery. Personally, I love greenery as well. Also, don't forget that a lot of the time your florists often kind of tap into a bit of event styling as well. That's what I found from my research anyway. So we actually ended up hiring candles from our florist, which was so helpful because it meant we didn't have to outsource from like another person. So definitely ask if you're wanting to hire anything specific, because I'm sure your florist would be able to help you. Tips for the wedding prep: what did you do in order, nails, tan, etc. So in terms of like the wedding day, I'd say the first thing I did was get my hair done, and I got that done, I think it might have been a week or 2 before the wedding, because I was going to Queensland. So I had a fresh color, and I tried not to wash my hair too many times in between then and the wedding, just so that the color was super fresh. And I also didn't swim in chlorine because I didn't want to risk doing anything to the color. I don't think I did any other prep when I was in Sydney. The rest was when I was on the Gold Coast. So I got my nails done, I think about like 3 days before the wedding. I'm not 100% sure. I can't really remember, but I know it was before my spray tan, and I got my spray tan done 2 days before the wedding. And other than that, I think the only other beauty thing that I did was my brows, and my sister did them the night before the wedding. She just plucked them, I'm pretty sure. I don't even, did she tint them? She might have tinted the ends. I didn't really do too much the week of. The main thing was just like the spray tan and my nails. I believe that was everything. But I highly recommend doing a trial. I feel like so many people talk about hair and makeup trials, but spray tan trial is just as important as well, because a spray tan can definitely go wrong. So I recommend doing that. Where was your dress from? I have a couple of questions about my dress. So my dress was from Martina Liana. I saw a dress on Pinterest that I really liked from that designer, and I was trying to find where had her brand in stock, and I actually found a boutique in Wollongong. So I went there to try on that specific dress, and even though that was gorgeous, my mum actually ended up pointing out this other dress. I tried that one on, and then that one ended up being the one. It just had like more of a wow factor, and yeah, I loved it. So the store that I got it from was called Acapella Bridal in Wollongong, and Connie, the owner, was really great. She did all of my alterations there, which was nice because I didn't have to take it anywhere else to have alterations. But the designer was Martina Liana. I say that like that was the only dress that I wore, but I did have 2 other dresses that I wore. The second one was from Lily Studios, which you can get from Eternal Bridal, and it was absolutely beautiful. It's called the Cressida dress, and I really was torn whether I wanted a lace or a satin dress, which is why I did the 2. And then fun fact, I only decided last minute the week of the wedding to get a 3rd dress, because I decided that it would be nice to have a mini for the dance floor. So I ended up hiring a dress from Ivory Bridal Hire. And I know that might seem excessive, but at the end of the day, it's your wedding and you've got to do what you've got to do. But my camera is flashing at me, so I'm going to wrap up this video here. But I really hope you guys enjoyed it. And if you're a bride-to-be, you found it helpful, please do give this video a thumbs up if you did enjoy, and subscribe to my channel. Let me know if you have any other questions and if you want me to do a part 2. And don't forget to check out Milk Books. I will leave a link in my description. But thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in my next one. Bye.